Powerful moments of remembrance marking the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks.
We come together in prayer.
How the nation is remembering the thousands of lives lost.
It's an iconic photo and will always be remembered.
Years after its disappearance, a long-lost flag returns to ground zero. Its surprising connection to Kentucky. And Kentuckians take a moment to reflect. We'll take you to some special 9/11 memorial services in the Bluegrass.
This is WKYT News at 6.
It is a somber day in our history. Thanks for watching WKYT. I'm Kristen Kennedy. The nation paused today to remember the thousands of lives lost 15 years ago. September 11th, 2001, close to 3,000 people died in the worst terror attack in American history. Today, Americans shed tears, shared stories, and renewed pledges to never forget. CBS's Brooke Silva-Braga is at the 9/11 Memorial in New York City with our top story at 6.
Only the moments of silence interrupted the reading of the names.
Kevin W. Donnelly.
Jacqueline Donovan.
Nearly 3,000 victims of the September 11th attacks were remembered one by one.
Whenever you wore a ridiculous shirt such as the one I'm sporting, we didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Today we will do both.
Those reading the names included Walter Matuza. He's blind but was able to recite some of the names, including his father's.
And my father, Walter A. Matuza Jr. We miss you, Dad.
Philip Hayes has been to all 15 ceremonies. He flew in from LA to remember his dad, a World Trade Center fire safety director.
When they clanged the bell for the time that my dad lost his life, that exact moment is like the most touching to me.
At a ceremony remembering those lost at the Pentagon, President Obama hailed the sacrifice of the fallen and the resilience of those left behind.
We come together in prayer and in gratitude for the strength that has fortified us across these 15 years.
And outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where Flight 93 crashed, an honor guard placed a wreath at the memorial, honoring the 40 passengers and crew. A day of working to move forward while vowing not to forget. Brooke Silva-Braga for CBS News, New York.
And right after the attacks, people placed an American flag at Ground Zero. But in the chaos of recovery and rebuilding, the flag disappeared. No one knew where it went until 2014. WKYT's Sean Moody tracks the flag's journey back to Ground Zero and how it once belonged to a familiar face in Lexington.
It's one of the most iconic images from that day, those firefighters raising an American flag at Ground Zero. The flag was missing for years, eventually turning up in Washington State. It just went on display at the National September 11th Museum, and it turns out there's a surprising local connection. The flag came from a yacht docked near the World Trade Center. Firefighters took the flag and its pole from that boat and then raised it there at the site. Before the boat belonged to a couple there in Manhattan, it belonged to Lexington developer Dudley Webb.
And we built the boat as part of a 7-boat dinner cruise chain that we'd acquired from Detroit, Michigan. The Star of America was a boat that ended up at Battery Park up in New York.
The flag itself came from a marina in Jamestown, Kentucky.
I bought it at the ship store there in Jamestown, a whole case of them, and put them on all those boats. And that was one of them that was flying on the back of that boat. The firemen on the way into the ruins had grabbed our flag off the back of the boat and taken it with them and erected it there to memorialize the site. It was really a fascinating story.
Webb is glad to see that flag is finally back where it should be.
Fortunately, it's back and now in its proper place, and it's an iconic photo and will always be remembered.
In Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Back here in central Kentucky, communities across the region are remembering the thousands of lives lost 15 years ago. WKYT's Mike Beyer attended a special memorial service at Eastern Kentucky University. He continues our top story team coverage from Richmond.
Today is a day we will never forget.
Flew into the south side of the South Tower.
To honor the lives lost 15 years ago on 9/11, Eastern Kentucky University held a special memorial service this morning.
I was very, very pleased with as many people as came out today. It's always good to see that people do care and people still remember.
Corey Wheat is in the ROTC program at EKU. He organized today's service, a service that brought out dozens and featured several speakers from the local community as well as from the university.
It's one of these days that you'll never forget where you were when it happened, and I just happened to be at my Army Reserve unit in St. Louis, and that was a real honor to be in the Army at the time.
There are those days, whether it's the 4th of July or Veterans Day, a day like today, that give us a moment as a country to pause and reflect and to thank. And I think a service like today is so very important for our community and for our campus.
EKU President Michael Benson was the ceremony's first speaker. He talked about why today is so important for him and his family.
I have 2 nephews that are active duty, both Air Force pilots. One flies a C-17 and one is trained to be a fighter pilot. So we have a tradition of service in our family, and I'm very grateful for them and grateful for all men and women that wear the uniform on a daily basis.
That's exactly what Wheat plans on doing once he gets his degree. He says he wants to serve in the Army as long as he can to protect this country and to honor those who are no longer with us.
It's very critical for us to remember, because if we don't, we dishonor those who we lost, and that's something that we can never do. We have to remember. We have to.
In Richmond, Mike Byer, WKYT.
And at the University of Kentucky this afternoon, the Army Air Force ROTC read the names of every American killed in the terror attacks. Members of the ROTC also placed dozens of flags on campus. You'll hear from the organizers of that event coming up tonight on WKYT News at 11. We are tracking some great weather for the next few days. Get ready for it to finally feel a lot like fall. WKYT meteorologist Jim Caldwell has our first look at the work week forecast.
And it is looking pretty good. A cold front swept through the area yesterday, and when it did, it brought us all the sunshine and very calm and pleasant conditions. And you can see them all over the place here. I mean, we're looking from Louisville all the way to Corbin to Jackson, blue skies, with of course a few clouds mixing in. Not a bad looking day anywhere. And you see that shot there in the bottom middle. And you are looking at Lexington with plenty of blue out there as well. It is 78 degrees in Lexington out at the airport. Airport been running a little warm today, of course. 75 into Danville, 78 in London. I mean, just overall a fantastic day temperature-wise. As we begin looking ahead over the next few days, and that projection that you see of the sky there is for tomorrow, right around this same time, and the pleasant weather continues. We'll also be looking at a few dry days, at least to start the work week, and then it's action-packed late in the week as we'll be dealing with a little more heat, a little more humidity, and more chances of showers and thunderstorms. So this is a nice little break. Won't last forever, but it's a sign of things that will eventually come around and stay. I'll break all of it down coming up for you in just a few minutes.
Deputies in southern Kentucky are investigating a deadly crash. The Russell County Sheriff's Office says 26-year-old Jessica Warner was crossing Kentucky 379 at French Valley Road last night when she pulled into the path of a truck. The truck, we're told, hit the side of Warner's car. Emergency crews rushed Warner and her 3-year-old daughter, Chloe Fortenberry, to hospitals in Nashville. We're told Chloe died this morning. Warner's injuries are not considered life-threatening. In Whitley County, a visitation is tonight for one of the 2 teenagers who died on train tracks. State police say 18-year-olds Cody Stevens and Jordan Carr were lying on the tracks near Highway 26 in Rockholds when a train hit them. Carr will be laid to rest Monday at the Crowley Funeral Home Chapel in Williamsburg. His visitation started just a few minutes ago at that funeral home. Stevens' funeral services are on Wednesday. Investigators in Hardin County are looking for a murderer. They say someone killed an elderly man in Radcliffe. Police found the man dead in his apartment Friday. They say they were out there checking on another call when a neighbor asked them to check on the victim. Neighbors say the man was in poor health and often asked them for help.
He would offer money, $20 or whatever, to come make my bed, do my laundry, help me with dinner, run some errands. And at the times it didn't seem like it didn't matter who it was. He'd see somebody on the street and he would just ask them.
Neighbors think the man died in a botched robbery. Police aren't calling it that, but they do say some items from the apartment are missing. Right now they are not releasing the victim's name. Police in Lexington say a man tried with no luck to break into a church overnight. Gregory Mitchell, they say, tried to get into Grace Fellowship Church several different ways. WKYT's Mike Linden explains how officers got him before he got inside.
A man is behind bars this morning after attempting to break into the Grace Fellowship Church on Briar Hill Road in Lexington last night. According to church staff, 47-year-old Gregory Mitchell broke into the Grace Fellowship Church around 10 o'clock Saturday night. They say Mitchell first pried open a gate on the side of the sanctuary to get a ladder. With the ladder, staff say Mitchell tried to pry open a vent on the side of the building, but failed to do so. They say Mitchell then went to the back side of the building and eventually got inside after prying open a back door, thus triggering the church's alarm system. When police arrived around 10:30, they found microphones and other electronic equipment inside Mitchell's car. While no one from the church staff wanted to appear on camera, they did want to pass along a word of thanks to the men and women of the Lexington Police Department for arresting Mitchell last night. In Lexington, Mike Linden, WKYT.
Mitchell is facing charges of third-degree burglary and possession of burglary tools. Still to come on WKYT, a Kentucky mother is about to be on national television for her lack of cooking skills.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
It is a beautiful day out there with all that sunshine showing up around here. And of course, the skies have cleared considerably compared to where they were a little bit earlier. So look outside right now in our sky cam. You can see some high cirrus clouds off in the distance, but that's really about it. Airport temperature, it's been running a little warm today, but still, we're running in the mid to upper 70s in most locations out there. Humidity at 37% as well here in Lexington. You compare this to yesterday at this same time. You can see the folks that were dealing with the thunderstorms. That would be to our west. They'd been blasting through with that cold front. And the folks that had not. We were still warm around this time yesterday in parts of southeastern Kentucky. But today, you compare it to the same time because we're dry and sunny. We're actually a little bit warmer when you look back. But overall, the trend is downward because of the nice, new, refreshing air mass that we have around here. It's 75 in Danville, 77 Somerset, and more upper 70s, and right around 80 degrees across parts of eastern Kentucky. As we look forward here, the best part of this new air mass is the fact that it's not humid. But as we get into Monday, Tuesday, we're still in pretty good shape. But once Wednesday gets here, out ahead of another system, it'll cause our humidity levels to spike quite a bit, and you'll notice it again. So we can't completely beat it yet because we have more heat to go as well. We're getting deeper and deeper into the month of September, but we still have that possibility to see some of those higher temperatures as well around here. Generally clear now, but we did have some clouds around a little bit earlier. Frontal boundary now off to our south and east and out of the picture altogether for us, at least at the moment. You've got an area of high pressure running the show, giving us more of a northeasterly wind, keeping things drier and calmer around here. Hour by hour run takes us through the rest of the evening and into the overnight, and you'll see those temperatures dropping into the 50s, not just any part of the 50s, likely into the low and into the mid-50s. So that has a little bit of a sting to it early on Monday morning. Low 80s for highs tomorrow with more sunshine around, and then we'll increase the heat crossing over into Tuesday. We'll start the day off again at a pleasant level, but we end up in the mid-80s before it's all said and done, which puts us actually above average for this time of year. 7-day forecast spinning out. 85 on Wednesday, small chance of showers and thunderstorms, a little more energy toward the end of the week, and another cold front that will sweep through here by the weekend and gives us a better chance of showers and thunderstorms. It also brings another cooler shot of air into the area. So now it's a weekly battle. We'll see nice fall-like temperatures, and then you'll see the heat. And then you'll see the fall-like temperatures, and then the heat. That's the way it's been for the past couple of weeks, and it continues.
And there's storm chances the whole time.
That's right.
Thank you, Jim. A stay-at-home mom is getting the chance of a lifetime. She's going to star in a Food Network show. The show, though, isn't exactly one you'll want to be a part of. Samantha Brown is making her big TV debut on the new show, Worst Bakers in America. It is
because I burn everything I bake. So we applied, and next thing you know, I got a call and I was going to New York.
She can't say how she fared in the competition, but she does say her baking improved. Well, EK's in next with sports with what Coach Stoops had to say after last night's loss.
Yeah, that's right, Kristen. As you can imagine, Stoops was disappointed with how his Wildcats played in Florida, but there's only one thing that they can do, and the NFL is back. The Bengals needed a late field goal in the season opener. Those highlights are next in sports. It couldn't have gone much worse for the Wildcats on the road at Florida Saturday. A late touchdown was all that kept Kentucky from being shut out in the swamp. The Gators took control early and built a 24-0 halftime lead, and the Florida defense never allowed the Wildcats to find any rhythm. Kentucky's best scoring opportunity came in the first half on a 34-yard field goal attempt that bounced off the left upright. A disappointed Mark Stoops said there's only one thing for his team to do after the second loss of the season.
Go back to work. Go back to work. There's nothing. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. We're in the arena. Time to go to work. That's where we go. We go right back. We look at the film. We look at what we're asking them to do, what we can do. The players need to look at themselves. Coaches need to look at things and see what we can execute. I know we could play better than that.
Saturday's loss was a worst-case scenario for Drew Barker. The Kentucky quarterback completed just 2 passes for 10 yards. He was picked off 3 times by the Florida defense. Barker was replaced in the third quarter by backup Steven Johnson. Despite his struggles in the first SEC road start, he remains optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need to learn from, what has happened. So, I kind of agree with Coach Stoops where we don't need to start over completely, but we just need to learn from everything that's happened the past 2 games and the goods and the bads, and take out both of them and just really learn from them and come together as a team. And, I think we can get it turned around for sure. It's only 2 games out of we got 10 more left, like you said, so I'm still very optimistic.
The Wildcats have an opportunity to get back on track Saturday when they host the Aggies of New Mexico State. 4 p.m. kickoff on the SEC alternate channel. New Mexico State is 1-1 on the year following an impressive come-from-behind win over the University of New Mexico on Saturday. Well, who can forget the disappointing finish last season for the Bengals in the first round of the playoffs? Today, the Bengals with a chance to put that to rest and begin a new season. Bengals going on the road to open the season at the Jets. Second quarter, Andy Dalton goes deep to his favorite weapon, A.J. Green. Comes down with a 54-yard touchdown. Bengals up 10-7. Following a Jets touchdown, Bengals down 3. Jeremy Hill goes 12 yards to give the Bengals the lead, 20-16. Under a minute left to play in the fourth quarter, now 22-20 Jets. Mike Nugent drills a 47-yard field goal to put Cincinnati on top, 23-22. So one last chance for the Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick's pass intercepted by Josh Shaw to seal it. Andy Dalton throws for 366 yards and a touchdown to help the Bengals beat the Jets for the first time in 10 meetings in New Jersey, 23-22. Randall Cobb and the Green Bay Packers in sunny Florida for the season opener, visiting the Jaguars. Cobb with the catch of the day in the third, falling to the ground, still hanging on to the ball. Cobb finishing with a team-high 6 receptions for 57 yards. He added 11 rushing yards. Packers pull off the 27-23 win. Titans linebacker and former Kentucky Wildcat Avery Williamson had plans to honor the victims of 9/11 by wearing special patriotic cleats during the Titans season opener. Now, his plans were to auction off the cleats after the game, with the proceeds going to Operation Warrior Wishes. Williamson's plan changed when the NFL threatened to fine Avery for a uniform violation if he wore the cleats that didn't match the rest of his team. But guess what? Avery decided he would wear the cleats anyway after several New York and New Jersey law enforcement associations reached out to Avery to let him know that they would be willing to pay whatever fine the NFL imposed. So good to see Avery going through with his plan. And finally, some sad news to share. With the passing of Shane Winstead early this morning, Winstead had been fighting colon cancer. You may remember our story last April on Shane and her daughter Madison, who was at the time a senior at Dunbar High School and a commit to the UK swim team. Madison's dream was for her mother to have the opportunity to watch her swim in a college meet, and she had to receive special NCAA clearance to do so at UK's blue-white meet. Her mother Shane said at the time that day was something that can never be duplicated. Shane was just 49 years old. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with the Winstead family. We'll be right back.
Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $122 million. And Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot is $222 million. Looking at some great weather.
Yeah, very pleasant this evening, end of the day tomorrow as well, and toward the middle and latter part of the week it'll change a little bit, but we're in the 80s tomorrow. Tuesday we're back in the mid 80s, so you see the heat tries to build back in again, but another big dip toward the weekend, and it looks like that'll happen again the week after. This has been a pattern that's been locked in, a roller coaster ride. Often you see this in March. We're in spring. We're in transitional period as we're getting ready to officially go into fall, where you're going to go up and down as well, guys in the weather world.
Those are not terrible temperatures to go up and down with.
They are no, not at all. Fantastic little run.
Hope to join us right back here at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll see you then.